It feels like we've been celebrating Dragon Ball's 40th anniversary for like a year or two now. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or that's really the case, but there's been a lot of commemorative figures and merchandise that's been coming out since 2024. But today is the real deal. It is the latest Ichiban Kuji Dragon Ball 40th anniversary part 1. Let's strap in. There's a lot to talk about, and let's get ready to celebrate Dragon Ball's 40th anniversary. We do Dragon Ball figure reviews, news, and more here on the channel, so if you don't want to miss out on the hottest releases, make sure you subscribe. Before we start today's review though, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Jump Ichiban. They are the best way for you to import Japanese exclusive items and goods. This Ichiban Kuji is a Japanese exclusive Ichiban Kuji. None of the items that you're going to see in today's video are going to come overseas whatsoever, so make sure you use their website. They're going to be tariff-free, and you're going to get all of these items about a week after ordering them out of Japan. You can use my discount codes MatchesPeaches10 to get 10% off of your first order of 2 or more items, and you can use MatchesPeaches5 to get unlimited orders at any quantity at 5% off. So thank you, Jump Ichiban, for sponsoring today's video. Check them out, but now let's dive into the review. This Ichiban Kuji set was released to recognize and celebrate Dragon Ball's 40th anniversary. The manga started in November of 1984, so we're about 1 year into celebrating. I guess Japan just likes to party for years at a time, which hey, I'm down with that. There will also be a part 2 Ichiban Kuji releasing in December 2025, so stay tuned for that release and review. This set features a variety of different characters and small prizes. Prize A is the comic vignette figure of Kid Goku and Shenron from Volume 1 of the manga, based on Toriyama's illustration. And to save time, every figure and prize in this set is strictly based on Toriyama's work from the manga. Prize B is another comic vignette figure of Goku and Majin Buu from Volume 42 of the manga. Clearly, they wanted figures based on the very first and the very last of the original manga run. Prize C are these 40th anniversary double boards. They made 2 different types for this Kuji. They have the 40th anniversary logo on the front, a design of Shenron on the back, and they fold out into a giant visual board of some of Toriyama's finest illustrations. I'm still figuring out where I'm going to display this, so I'd love to hear some tips and maybe some recommendations from you guys down in the comments. Prize D are 2 different types of mugs with various panels of the manga wrapped all around them. I love my mugs and have been getting pretty much every single one that Bandai has made in Ichiban Kuji over the last year or 2. These look beautiful. So much so that I don't want to really use them, but mugs are meant to be drank from, am I right? Prize E are 5 different minifigures called manga structure figures. We'll talk about these in a little more depth later in the video, but I did want to mention right here that these are very old figure series that were revived specifically for this Kuji. The last ones we ever got were of Kaioken Goku and Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho back in 2018. That is crazy to see. Prize F consists of some of my favorites of this set. It's a collection of A-Collect acrylics of Toriyama illustrations. I love these since each one has a different year on it to show you when Toriyama drew it. There are 20 different types in the set, with one being a secret type. The secret type is one of my favorite Toriyama illustrations of Goku firing the Kamehameha. Prize G are 21 clear file sets of manga chapter covers from the manga. Each one has the respective manga chapter art with some panels from the chapter on the back. These would be perfect for those looking to maybe make high quality looking backgrounds of the manga for their displays. Obviously, the Part 2 Kuji will have the other half of manga covers. Prize H are clear posters of various Toriyama illustrations. These are beautiful and almost meant to be framed. I intend to do so when I buy a house in the near future. They also have a translucent back to them, so it gives you the flexibility to display them however you like. Prize Eye are probably my least favorite as they're just manga panels made into stickers. There are a ton of types, but I mostly plan to include these as freebies whenever I sell or gift figures to people. And finally, the last one prize of the set is a Giga Manga Structure figure of Super Saiyan Goku. Giga Manga Structure is exactly what it sounds like. It's a giant version of those Manga Structure minifigures that I mentioned earlier. I know that was a lot of stuff to talk about before we even get into reviewing the figures themselves, but like I said, this entire Ichiban Kuji really does feel like a celebration of Dragon Ball. I highly recommend looking into some of these with Jump Ichiban's listings, leverage my discount codes. There are a ton of fun items for you to collect in here, but now let's start with the figure reviews, starting with Prize A, Prize B, all of Prize E, and then the last one prize. Alright, let's dive into Prize A, Kid Goku and Shenron. As mentioned earlier, he's based on the first volume cover of Dragon Ball's manga. It's an iconic illustration that's been used not only here, but with other pieces like the 40th anniversary SH Figure Arts. I noticed Team Ichigan was reposting this set at release on Twitter, which is usually a sign of them being involved in its creation. Unfortunately, Varuk told me that he can't make who made what public, so I guess I'm gonna have to guess here. Based on the sculpting style of this Goku, I assume that Joe worked on this. I can't outright confirm who worked on what, so take my opinion of that with a grain of salt. Goku's face is perfectly done on this piece. I love the rounded eyes and happy expression that he has. It really does look and feel like the manga was ripped right off the page. The lighter orange of his gi with the red wristbands is so unique since we don't really see these colors on Goku figures very often. Even his Nyoibo has a little white mark towards the top that isn't normally seen on his designs. Goku's sculpt has loads of details, but he is made in a more simple fashion to reflect that art style of the time. One area that I am a tad disappointed in is his hair sculpt. Kid Goku figures seem to have this bad habit of having a seam line going across the top of his head. It's a bit disappointing when we've seen this accomplished without issues in Kid Goku figures of the past. I hope that Bandai eventually finds a way to overcome this issue, as it does break a bit of the immersion I try to have when looking at figures. Mine also has a very minor QC issue near one of his hair spikes, but it's only really noticeable when pointed out, so not a major deal. Goku is of course riding a very cartoonish version of Shenron, seen in loads of different illustrations and depictions. I love the detailed scales all along his body as it curls around the diorama. His face and mouth are so well put together too. I love the big eyes they gave Shenron, and his jaw is really well detailed in the rows of teeth that are on it. Neither Goku nor Shenron have any shading on them, but I will say that their colors are extremely saturated, bright, and cleanly applied. One of the coolest parts of this piece is the manga that they're sitting on top of. Not only can you see the actual cover and backside of the Japanese version of the manga, but the pages are one-to-one with the manga. They even included the page number towards the bottom corner. It feels very authentic, and you should even take a look at it, taking Goku and Shenron off of the piece so you can see it. The piece also includes a translucent acrylic logo of Dragon Ball to sit right behind them. And of course, all of this sits right on top of the base, which has the 40th anniversary logo etched on the back and on the front, and I believe it says, based on my Google Translator, Son Goku and the others. Not sure if that's exactly what it says, but there you go. The figure is a bit smaller than I expected though. Being at only 5.5 inches tall, I would have expected this to be a much larger diorama piece. It technically does scale with the Prize B Goku, but scaling doesn't really seem to be a focus at all in this set. Regardless, I do think this piece is beautiful and a charming figure to have in your display. He can be an accentuating piece or go alongside other busts or diorama figures that you might have. Let's move on to Prize B, the second comic vignette figure, but of volume 42 of the manga. Goku and Majin Buu saying goodbye. Unlike the Prize A, this Goku is incredibly unique in the sense that I don't think this specific manga volume cover has ever been depicted as a figure, at least not so accurately. How often do we ever see Goku in a brown and blue gi? Pretty much never. That alone makes this one of the most unique Goku figures ever made. I also have a sneaking sneaking suspicion that Varrook sculpted this piece due to its high detail and accurate style. Goku's hair blowing back from the wind of his flight is beautifully depicted and looks nearly identical to the manga. The sculptors certainly took a lot of great care to account for this being a 3D model, so it looks perfect from every single angle. You can even see sculpt strands for each of his bangs and spikes. Goku's face is wonderful too, with a soft expression. You can see accentuating line work applied near his eyes and his chin. Goku's musculature is also fantastic on his arms and chest. Plus, I love the little brush strokes seen on his skin and even the details of the fingers on his hand. Goku's gi is also well made to emulate the motion of it flying behind him and all of the folds across it to give it some realistic looks. Let's not forget the little Majin Buu behind Goku too. While he doesn't have a ton of detail, he's really well made. You can see those same brush strokes that are on his body, the holes on his head and arms were sculpted in rather than just painted on, and his fluttering cape behind him looks great too. He's also in a little UFO that has a metallic finish on it, as well as the number 42 to represent the volume 42 cover. These are also on a well-detailed manga underneath them that has just as much detail as Prize A's. While this piece does have beautiful paint and matte finishes on it, it is devoid of shading. That's not a deal breaker for me personally, as the sculpt and colors are so magnificent that it's barely noticeable. Like the Kid Goku, I did expect this piece to be a bit bigger. It comes in at 8 inches tall, which is not a horrible size at all, but I just expected bigger. But I do think this is a much more reasonable size than the Kid Goku. This has to be one of my favorite pieces in the set and one of my favorite figures from 2025 for sure. Up next, we have the 5 manga structure figures. These may be reminiscent of Dragon Archives or even the recent Assemble Collection Kuji figures. While the bases below these are very similar to the Dragon Archives, the figures themselves are approached in a much different artistic fashion. They aim to replicate manga panels one-to-one, so the figures aren't in a chibi size or anything. They also have frames around them to make them look as though they are actually 3D manga panels themselves, even featuring text bubbles seen directly from the manga. They're super charming and are more for accentuating collections. I have them in my manga case currently, and they do look pretty good. They're noticeably bigger than Archives figures, so keep that in mind if you're looking to get them. And if you're curious, my favorites in order from most favorite to least is Vegeta when he recognizes Goku as number 1 during the Buu arc, Kid Goku from the first chapter of the series, Frieza before fighting Nail, Android 18 kissing Krillin, and Goku before having his first fight with Vegeta. Now that we have this set out of the way, let's talk about that last one prize. The last one prize figure of this set is a Giga manga structure of Goku based on the moment Frieza brings up his murder of Krillin, which sparks the Saiyan's rage in Dragon Ball manga chapter 323 and Dragon Ball Z episode 129. This is an iconic panel and moment that has admittedly been done a few times in figures. Even recently, I reviewed the Figure Art Zero Super Saiyan Goku depicting this very scene, but obviously this figure is going the route of emulating a manga panel in real life, right down to the frame and speech bubble. This also features the Dragon Ball logo right on the front to give it a little extra flair and style. If you don't like the frame, it's removable and the figure does look pretty clean without it on. You can even remove the logo too, but then you'll be able to see all of the different insert holes on the base. Personally, I think I'll elect to keep everything as intended since the piece looks best with all of its parts on it. Goku himself, even though he's a bust, has incredible amounts of detail. His face is insanely well done and one of the most accurately made Gokus I've ever seen. I love the details of blood trailing down his eyes and even in his teeth, just like the manga and anime. That blood is featured all over his body too, that also has shading everywhere. In fact, the entire figure has a matte finish with shading on every single bit of it. You can see mixtures of yellows in his hair as it flies up from his rage. The hair sculpt is just so insanely well depicted and super unique for Goku. His musculature is also really well done with scratches and scuffs, as well as some brush strokes from when it was being put together too. Goku's pants have more of a manga color to them, being a lot brighter of an orange than the anime, but it also has mixtures of darker yellows and oranges to give it some shaded depth. The figure's also the biggest in the set, being about 10 inches tall. It's certainly not as big as I expected, but it's still massive when paired alongside the rest of the set, or even other diorama or bust type figures. I think this piece is perfect for accentuating a collection or being some sort of centerpiece. It's easily my favorite figure of the set due to its incredible details and near identical likeness to its manga panel. This set really does feel like a celebration of Dragon Ball. Not only are the figures amazing, but even the small prizes, you can tell that a lot of love, care, and passion has been poured into them. I think if you were to even get just one of these prizes, you'd be incredibly happy and fulfilled. But honestly, if you want to get the full effect of this big celebration of Dragon Ball, seeing Toriyama's work truly brought to life within different prizes, figures, acrylics, all that stuff, I recommend getting the entire set. This whole set is super fun and definitely one of the best Ichiban Kuji prize sets that I've ever opened up. But those are my thoughts, guys. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you made it this far in the video and you enjoyed it, then please leave a like and of course subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do want to join our growing community of Dragon Ball collectors and enthusiasts that are just like you, there's a link to our Discord in the description below. Feel free to jump on in, show off your collection, start making some friends. And if you do want to go even further beyond in supporting the channel, consider becoming a YouTube member. That way you can see videos like this early, among other perks that I am working on in the future for the channel. But I think that's all I got for you guys today, so till the next video, I'll see you all later.
Let's fly, fly, fly.